to order. We will begin with the roll call.
Anderson,
Here.
Appenfelt, Bonnet,
Here.
Burnett,
Here.
Faree,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Hanson. Oh, sorry, he's gone. My bad. Keel. Here. Mark.
Here.
Olson,
Present.
Perkins. Yads.
Here.
Zap.
Here, and I'll note that Perkins may arrive late.
Yes, Perkins is excused. Okay, please join me in the pledge and a moment of silent deliberation.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll open a informal public hearing. If there's anyone here in the audience or online that would like to speak to the council, this is your chance to do that. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to bring up an issue to the council that's not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone that would like to bring a suggestion to the council? Okay, seeing none, the informal public hearing is closed and we move to announcements. I didn't prepare announcements. Do you have any? Ms.
I do not have any this evening.
You don't? No elections or anything? Is there
Use the E word, right?
anyone in the body that has any announcements? Well, and we'll talk about it during the proclamation. The Earth Day celebration is coming up Saturday, 27th in Beaver Dams downtown. If you want to pick up some trash or bring some kids down, it's always a good event to see who can fill a bag of trash the fastest and what kind of prizes you might get. Okay, well, that moves me into the
Mayor.
Arbor. Yes, go ahead.
I just gonna state that I had the opportunity to take a ride along with the police department. And I had a wonderful time. I just want to encourage everybody that if you're interested in doing a ride along, they are very gracious. I'm very appreciative of us being there. It's kind of a way to show recognition for what they do, but it was a great learning experience. Our police officers, they're more than what I thought. I mean, they don't stop at their shift. A lot of the guys that I got the pleasure of accompanying, they continue to do basically social work when their shift ends. And the relationships they've developed with the residents that they most often encounter are very positive, which and they pride themselves on helping others. So again, if you have the opportunity or desire to ride along with a police officer, I'd highly encourage you to do so. So thanks. And special shout out Officer Andrew Burnett and Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson. So contact Lieutenant Johnson to get things set up. And I would ask that you also get to work with Officer Burnett. So two great gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I'll just say a follow-up to that too. I don't want to speak for them, but I prefer that. I would think that they would prefer you not to do a ride along at 2 a.m. in the morning. Cause that's how I would,
You just issue bulletproof vests for that trip.
it's
So
not around.
they're happy to do any shift. So I did second shift, but I carried over to third to meet the third shift officers. Third shifts, I don't want to announce the times their shifts are, but they are gracious enough to work with you on whatever shift you want to work. And we did discuss bulletproof vests. If you are interested, they will provide. So. Oh.
Okay, moving on to number 5 on our agenda is Arbor Day proclamation. If I could meet Mr. Newman, our forester at the podium there. Okay, so the office of the mayor has a proclamation for Arbor Day. And whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, celebrating over 150 years. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, help manage stormwater, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Beaver Dam has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation for 33 consecutive years and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore, as mayor of the city of Beaver Dam, I do hereby proclaim Friday, April 22nd, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Beaver Dam, and I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for their trees and woodlands and to support our city's community forestry program. And further, I would urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Citizens are invited to join the official Arbor Day ceremony and tree planting to be held at 10:45 Saturday, April 27th, near Front and Center Street, just east of 213 Front Street. This is being held in conjunction with Downtown Beaver Dam's annual Earth Day cleanup. Signed by Michael Wassell, Mayor. Any comments?
Yeah, it's that time of year again, where we're gonna be planting trees. Probably rough count right now, somewhere around 80 new trees coming into the city. Some of them are coming from our nursery. Some of them were purchased, some of them are memorial trees. That are being donated. The Lions Club, I know are donating. We're working with them on Arbor Day down at Lakeview. Remax Realty is we're gonna be working with them in the afternoon on Arbor Day out at Edgewater. So a lot of different communities and groups in town that are supporting our forestry. And that's what it takes, a group. Oh, yeah, another thing that we're gonna be working on this year, well, actually, probably the next consecutive years. Out on the Hemlock Farm. There's a tremendous amount of evergreen trees out there. They're pretty nice. They're vary in size from 25 feet all the way down to 4 feet. We're gonna dig up a lot of those 4 and 5 footers and bring them into town, put them in the parks. For future development out in the industrial park, everything's probably gonna get pushed on a pile at some point in time, so we wanna try and salvage some of that and save some money. Bring them into town where they can do some good, so. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, you're hard. Okay, moving on to disposition of minutes. You have the minutes in front of you. And you've got a chance to review them, I hope. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April 1st, 2024 meeting of the Common Council? I have a motion from Alder Burnett.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Alder Zop has the second on that. I don't know why that's so hard to say. Too many Z's in that, Zach Zop. Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Any corrections? Seeing then, All in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And any abstentions? Motion carried. Moving on to city administrator's report.
Just a couple of things to pass along to council. First, today earlier today, did a press release, and you may have seen a Facebook post. Thanks to research of Todd and some work with Dan, we found online resource for placing garage sales on a map. And so it was a small service charge, but we were able to fit it within our budget and purchase this online program that will allow residents to submit applications. We will review, make sure there's nothing nefarious. But in general, as long as they live within the city and they have a relevant garage sale, it will be automatically posted online, and then stay online until their garage sale is closed. And then anybody can view that and be able to access it. So we're excited about that resource. We just rolled it out. So, but it should be good for the garage sale, the citywide garage sale at the end of May, correct? Or April, May.
Might be a charge for it.
No charge. It will be free. So we'd welcome, let those that you work with or that you converse with, let them know. We look forward to that program being utilized. Question.
I'm assuming it's the kind of app where an individual would go in and create their own account to post their own garage sale, or do they have to go through the city?
Yeah, so all that happens is there's a form they fill out. It comes to our office, be online. So there's no sign up. It's just it's a form submission. Todd, I don't know if it's supposed to be a report, but if there are other questions, feel free to ask or you can actually go online right now. It isn't something that requires an app. It's a web-based program or a web-based form. So you can reach it through Google, Safari, whatever web page you're utilizing. So the May 2nd, please plan on it at the Watermark on attending the open house starting at 5:30 to 7 p.m. It will be an opportunity to go from table to table and visit with the subcommittees and see what they've put together with the community action plan. And we're still working on a date for their final presentation. We're tentatively aiming for May 23rd. With that, you should have received in your emails some information for the strategic plan. I'm still planning on the end of this month. There was a question about waiting until we saw the community action plan information recommendations to do that. But I believe that we'll still have opportunities to talk about the recommendations that will come from that plan, the community action plan. So don't worry, we won't roll by it. And I think that is all I have. So.
Okay. Ms. Clerk, is there any communications?
There are no communications this evening.
Okay, we'll move on to paying the bills. Is there a motion to pay the bills? Yes.
I make a motion to approve the bills, hang on, in the amount of $1,115,000, $768.84.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Alder Burnett? Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any comments, any corrections? Alder Yuds.
I have a question on page 2 under finance director. We paid John Summers last month $11,721.50. We seem to have an administrator and an assistant to that. We're still paying John Summers. This is almost 100 hours worth of work.
Okay, yes.
That question came up at admin committee meeting and Kayla was in attendance via Zoom and she reported that normally it's billed per week, but last month it was billed for the month, and that because they were undergoing an audit, that the month of March had an unusual amount of hours that were required for his services. Normally, it's a much smaller line
So
item.
we're using him as to help do the audit, then you're saying?
Correct. He was involved in, I don't know. I don't know.
No,
He-
what,
I think it
what time
was,
do we use in-house people to do the audits?
no, I don't think he was doing the audit.
Or helping with the audit?
He was
I should
helping
say.
Kayla prepare for the
Yeah,
audit.
but what time do we just say? Can
Yeah,
we do
I don't know
you
that. I'm just telling you.
I'm just bringing the
Yeah.
questions up, I mean. So, okay, thank you.
Did you want to respond to that?
Well, I can respond somewhat. I think that upon my hire, it was encouraged to use John Summers for the interim, and Kayla has a good working relationship with John. We've even BDADC, for instance, and Trent Campbell will often consult with John as well. About 6 months ago, Mayor Becky Gluen, she had commented, "Hey, we probably need to back off utilizing John's services." So I have had a conversation with Kayla about that. Generally speaking, I was allowing her to continue to use John just because I think he's been a great resource. If it's the will of the council that I know that we've been working within the budget that we have. And so there's enough work to be done that we could use John, independent of whether we do or not. So just, I want to say that I think John's been a great resource and a great mentor to Kayla. And I haven't necessarily wanted to disrupt that. So.
Mick, did you have a comment?
I did. I was one at the administrative meeting tonight, committee meeting, that requested and talked to Kayla, and she responded that they bill, this isn't quite the way I caught, or Bobby had presented it. I guess I understood it differently. Normally, this is billed on a monthly basis. The company itself bills us American, whatever it is, on the payroll sheet there, bills for John Summers on a weekly basis. But from what I talked to, or I had Kayla respond to that, and she said that they normally will present it to the council, is what I got, on a monthly basis. And she did say that because of the audit, this was going to be a higher than normal period. Those were exact words, higher than normal. So I asked Kayla if she would be so kind over the next 2-week or week period to simply bring up the financial spreadsheet for the company that John works for and find out exactly what we have paid John Summers through his contractor, American whatever, for the last 2 years or since the contract was written. Even if it's less than 11,000 a month, we're paying our city administrator currently, ballpark figure with benefits, fringes, the whole works, 12,000 a month. And we're paying Kayla, I don't know how much, but I'm gonna throw a low ball at 6,000 a month. We're at 18. And we're now okaying 11 to John Summers for the month of March. That's 29. Do the rest of you think we got a problem somewhere? I sure do.
Did you want to add to that, Bobby?
I was simply going to bring up what Mick said, that we have requested a report from Kayla, that Mick brought that up, and I thought that was a good idea, that we see the pattern over the last 2 years, and maybe when we have more than just 1 month's worth of information, and a fuller picture, that we can generate some questions and go from there. So,
Thank you. And I remember that, when we went to this process, that it was going to be a learning process and that John would be employed for a while. So the question is, I guess, how long until Kayla's comfortable, doing her part too? Okay, any other discussion on the bills? Seeing none, all in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried. We'll now move on to ordinances.
Ordinance number 4-2024, an ordinance amending section 50-9 loitering of the Beaver Dam Municipal Code. This is a first reading.
Okay, since this is the first reading, we will look at that in 2 weeks and have a public hearing at that time. Ordinance number 5-2024.
Ordinance number 5-2024, an ordinance amending section 62-50 parking restrictions of the Beaver Dam Municipal Code. This is a first reading.
Thank you. Again, we'll look at that one as a second reading in 2 weeks and give full discussion. Moving on to ordinance 6.
Ordinance number 6-2024, an ordinance repealing certain charter ordinances, replacing repealed charter ordinances with amended general ordinances, creating a City of Beaver Dam Executive Committee, and modifying city ordinances related to the role of the city administrator. This is a first reading.
Yep, just give me a second. This is a first reading, but we will discuss this one this evening. This came from the Administrative Committee maybe about a month ago. It's been a little while. And the discussion was that they really wanted it to bring to the council as a whole for further discussion. So we will discuss this one tonight. There won't be a vote on it per se, because it needs a second reading and a public hearing. So Alder Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. I consider this charter ordinance change to be very important. It gives us a chance to correct some problems that exist at City Hall. I've talked to a lot of staff, contractors, and other alder persons over the last 3-week period. This ordinance was on the Administrative Committee agenda, I'm going to guess, for 3 committee meetings in a row. I move that the ordinance 6/2024 be moved from the Administrative Council to the council floor so that all alders have an opportunity to discuss the ordinance, not just the Administrative Committee members. The Operations Committee has had no say on this at this time. I now find that the final draft of the ordinance has been presented as a first reading. What we had at our committee meeting was a draft, which we did amend in a couple, 3 places. However, to take that draft that came out of committee and make it into an ordinance at that point, I can't believe that's happening, because nobody's had a chance to even amend or correct or ask questions from the Operations Committee. I make a motion that we postpone ordinance 6/2024 first reading indefinitely, so that we can discuss and amend the ordinance after the whole city council has a chance to express their questions and amendments. At a future date, we can take that amended ordinance that everybody has had input into and turn it into an amended 6/2024. And I just think in terms of fairness to everybody, all alders should have a say on this. I handed out a what I consider to be suggested changes, but these are by no means what I consider to be the final. I would like to bring up certain ones that I have highlighted and discuss them, And I know that other alderpersons have questions that they would like to ask and get answers for and possibly make amendments to. So I have a motion on the floor.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll make a second.
Thank you, Alder Yuds. Okay, discussion on the motion. There is a lot here, and if you're not on the admin committee, you haven't, I'm sure, seen this real thoroughly. It's only been in your mailbox for a short time, couple days. So I guess my question would be, and I agree that there's some things that definitely aren't ironed out, but what format do you want to call a special meeting to resolve this ordinance, or it sounds like you don't want it back at committee?
No.
Okay, Bobby?
Well, and just for clarification, I want to add that the changes that are presented in the document that you received tonight, just a very few of these changes were actually even discussed in admin committee. Many of these, the admin committee are seeing in the ordinance for the first time tonight as well. So most of this has not been discussed by anyone. So just so we're clear, this
Right.
is.
Yeah, good point. Yes, Mick.
Not to interrupt, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that I was, Bobby Marks had asked me more than once if we could discuss these in committee. Some of the, not all of these, but some of them, changes I had recommended. And I said, I thought it would be better, instead of going over this twice, once at the administrative meeting and and again at the council meeting, that we move it forward from admin to the council, and here we sit.
Yes, Frank.
Mick, quick, can Joe and I get a copy? We didn't get one of those.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're younger than I am.
I got names.
Okay, I think rather than call a special meeting to do this, let's just go ahead and discuss now, if you're okay with that. That's not what the motion is, but
I do believe that it's gonna last more than we have time allotted. What I'd like to see this, the way I can vision this is to put it on a couple, 3 agendas here until we go through these items one at a time. But let's not take up the next 3 hours or take up half of a council meeting going through it. If you would agree, we can go through, a couple paragraphs tonight, then put it on the agenda again for 2 weeks from now, et cetera.
okay.
So probably a good way to set this in motion based on that comment. I could give a little bit of background as to what this ordinance is and what's driving it. And then if there's some interest in having discussion about a few of these items, we can do that. We do have a motion on the floor. Right now it's discussion. We can discuss sort of the background of this ordinance and how it's structured. And then leave off wherever you see fit as presiding officer and pick it back up when we put it on the next agenda. So does that sound okay to you? Turn your mic on.
I don't mind that. Is that okay with the motion that's on the floor?
As long as we can go through each and every item, not only that I highlighted, but everybody else in the room may come up with. That
Okay.
could take a while.
Would it make sense
So we
to
don't have to do all of that tonight.
allocate 15 minutes?
That's fine if you, but let's just keep it going. And when I said that I wanted to make the postpone the ordinance indefinitely, that simply means we bring it back in the future. It doesn't mean that it's gone.
Yeah.
It just
indefinite
simply
could
means
be
we're gonna
1 hour
table it
or
for a
could be
while.
10 years.
Yeah, and we can, and it, that doesn't necessarily require a vote. There is no vote today on this topic because it's just a first reading, so all we'll do, if that's what the way the council would like to go and the mayor would like to go, we'll just add it to the agenda as a discussion topic until we get to the point where we feel like we're ready to have a second reading and a public hearing and move forward.
Thank you. Perfect.
So a little background for everyone, briefly. The city voted, and made the decision to move to from a mayor, full-time mayor to a part-time mayor with a city administrator some now 2.5 years ago. And, this ordinance is intended to create some of the structure for how that structure will work, okay? And I think it's important to continue working on this to get to a point where the ordinances are consistent with what we're doing right now and have been doing for 1.5 years. And I think it can be a little misleading to see the words charter ordinance at the top. The only reason there's any reference to a charter ordinance is that some of the ordinances that are relevant to building the structure are currently in charter ordinance form under the city's code. And it was my recommendation to take those out of charter ordinance status and just have them be regular ordinances, so that if you want to change the committees and the assignments and these things happen from time to time, we don't have to go through the charter ordinance change process. So the only thing related to a charter ordinance is my recommendation to, again, just put these ordinances in a standard ordinance category. So there's a few things in the ordinance. One is a designation of the city administrator functions and what's expected of a city administrator, regardless of who that is, now and into the future. These are the duties and the role of and defining the role of the administrator. One of the things that in most communities, if not nearly all of them, is you have the city administrator function as sort of the personnel director of the staff, right? That's very typical. You'll see some of that in here. There is oversight built in for the council over those decisions, but for instance, there's a long list of positions in the current ordinance that are considered appointed officials, and those include our department heads. Under a city administrator structure, you typically would have the city administrator overseeing the department heads in a hierarchy, right? So you'll see that change. One of the things that was added fairly late in this process, we've been talking about maybe doing this even before Nathan was hired. But later in this long process, this concept of an executive committee has been added to this ordinance as a separate committee, primarily functioning as the committee that takes the first view of any oversight and reviews of the city administrator, and then brings that back to the council for full discussion. As was done last year for Nathan's first 1-year review. It's proposed to be designated as a standard or a standing committee. You don't have to do that. You can convene the same individuals to at least the committee chairs and the council president and the mayor can function as they did last year without that official committee, but it's being proposed to make it an official committee. That would make public notice requirements applicable, and they'd have to go into closed session if they were talking about, particular employee matters. The majority though of this is, we looked through the ordinance and said, where does it say the mayor does something, and where would it be appropriate to have the city administrator and the mayor share those responsibilities, or maybe shift them over to the administrator since the mayor was moved to a part-time position. So you'll all have an opportunity to read through this and evaluate whether or not we hit the mark on what the structure should look like. And Alder Fisher has provided today, the colored printed page which shows some other changes that he'd like to see. One of the things that I think would be worth talking about today is, especially since Nathan has stepped out for this portion of the conversation. One of the things in the proposed ordinance is, excuse me, a 2/3 vote being required to remove a city administrator. Under the statutes, it's 50% or one more than 50%, right? To do that. We had some discussion in committee about what would be the appropriate number. The idea being that you'll want to evaluate both what is appropriate from the perspective of managing your top employee and what you think is important for recruiting people when there's vacancies in that position and what kind of protections they might want to see. That's why the discussion was had to create a number, and maybe that's, since Nathan stepped out today, I think that's probably a good way to use our 15 minutes today. The other thing I think is that's worth talking about is just as a general concept in Alder Fisher's proposal, he's proposed the concept of a committee of the whole. I think that those are probably the two, from my perspective, those would be the things that I'd really want some initial thoughts and to put those up. We don't want to save those for, certainly not the committee of the whole for last, because you all might want to think about it as we move forward and you might want more information about where those are used. But I'd start with the 2/3 vote. And I know that the chairwoman for the committee has and the rest of the committee have had some discussion on that, and they might summarize some of that to get us started.
Okay, thanks, Larry, for your introduction. Bobby, do you want to comment on that, or?
I just want to say that in the admin committee, the original proposed ordinance, I believe, had a 3/4 threshold for removal of city administrator, and after discussion within the committee, we voted to adjust it to 2/3, which out of 14 alders, if we had a full slate of alders, would be 10 votes in order to remove him from office. Or her.
If there's a fraction, you round down.
So even if it's a 10.2, go down.
10.2, if it was, then 10 is right. Because if you go to 11, you're more than, right.
I didn't know.
No, I'm sorry, the other way around. Yeah, yeah. Right. It depends on whether it's a negative or positive, right?
Right. So
If there's a fraction, you need to fill that whole person.
Right.
Yeah.
So 14.
So while you're calculating there, why don't we open it to any suggestions? So the simple majority obviously would be one person over 50%. 2/3 would be how many? 10? Okay, would be 10.
Two more than is needed under a 50%.
3/4 was,
Again, when we discussed it in committee, 3/4 was 11 people, 2/3 was 10 people.
yeah. Okay. Jack?
I'm in favor of just simple majority. Everybody in this room, all 14 aldermen and the mayor, were voted in by a simple majority. You get voted out by a simple majority. Why are we making an exception for the administrator? They should be held accountable. I mean, if you're doing your job, you should even worry about what the number is. We could just show up and say, well, we don't vote at all.
Well,
But right now, but
yeah,
that's my theory. I mean, we should have it simple majority. That's it.
okay. And one of the comments I've heard is that if there was, irregardless if it's a simple majority or let's say there's only 9 vote for it, that person's probably going to start looking for a job because they know they're not too popular in their position. So, and that's, I'm not saying that that's good or bad. Bobby?
One of the points that came up in our committee discussion is the role of the city administrator is to bring ideas and policy ideas to the council for approval. It doesn't necessarily mean that those ideas are things that the administrator is excited to bring forward. For example, let's say it's a year and budget numbers are low. And so the city administrator comes to us with his best professional opinion that we need to cut, $1 million worth of spending out of the budget. Just something that could happen. And the problem with lowering the threshold for removing the city administrator is I think there's the risk that the city administrator as the messenger would become the bad guy. That by making it easy to remove him or her, you're making it, you want the city administrator to feel comfortable making recommendations that might be hard for us to hear, even if they're in his best professional judgment. And by making it easier for him to lose his job, he might be more likely to sugarcoat the policy decisions that he brings to us. And so I think it's important. Part of the idea of going from a mayor to a city administrator is to take politics out of some of those policy decisions. Because we all know that a lot of what we do here really isn't politics. It's day-to-day operations of the city of Beaver Dam that don't require a lot of controversy. And I feel like the lower threshold invites more controversy with a figurehead who, let's face it, he's not elected for a reason. He's chosen for his expertise and his experience, and he answers to us. We're his boss or her boss. So if that person isn't doing a good job, we need to do our jobs and investigate and get rid of that person. But I think the simple majority threshold is too low, and it would open an opportunity for it to become too politicized.
Alder Yutz?
Me, okay. If someone would bring a bad budget to us, they have protection by a contract. If we decide, well, you got another year and a half, whatever is on the contract, 9 months, you got to decide, are you going to let them go or let that person go? And you got to realize you're going to pay them the rest of their contract. That's usually written in the contract, maybe even longer. And they will ask for insurance for their family. So it's not an easy decision to say, well, I don't like your budget, I'm just going to vote you out. It's more than just that. We're not making a simple decision just to get rid of somebody. It's more than that.
Alder Zop?
So I'm gonna bring up two case studies to turn what Alder Park had said as risk into reality. So there is the case study of the town of Grand Chute. It is in turmoil. Larry, you probably know about this. They have a town administrator, and they have, I think, a system of either 5 or 7 town board members. And they have a simple majority threshold to remove that administrator. Well, come to find out, the town president was doing illegal things, illegal contracting with his business to get basically free money out of the town. City administrator brings it forward. He gets canned because it's the threshold is only like 3 or 4 votes. 3 or 4, you get 51%, 3 or 4 votes. You pissed off the town president for calling him out on doing illegal stuff, and he fires the guy that called him out. Second case study, Pleasant Prairie. That sounds really familiar what Nathan went through, right? He called them out for the employee doing illegal acts, right? Town board got his buddies together and kicked Nathan out for doing what he was supposed to do. This is the risk of turning that job into a political pinwheel. I mean, we should protect that person and allow them to do their job to withstand the scrutiny of political BS, because it is, and I won't even get to Mayville. I mean, this case study after case study after case study of administrators taking the bullet because the political body doesn't like them getting caught doing illegal things and they throw them out. I mean, it is sickening, but it happens over and over again, and we need to protect that person with a higher vote threshold. I mean, this is one of the nice things about having 14 alders, right? I mentioned town of Grand Chute. It was like 5 or 7 alders. You just need to get 2 or is it 5? You get 3 people together and you can do whatever you want. That's insane. It's the same thing in Mayville, right? They can't function over there. It's nuts. So we have 14 people. It takes a lot to get this body to do something. That's a good thing. And let's protect that person with a high threshold so they're not taking bullets to cover up our misdeeds. Thank you.
Alder Fisher.
Larry, how much time we got on the clock here?
I'm not going to answer that because I want to talk about the committee of the whole.
Okay, just 2. I'll go over this real quickly. I disagree with Bobby Marks in her assumption that the alders aren't intelligent enough to see what's going on. We're reasonable people. We listen to the budgets. If somebody's trying to pull a fast one, we're going to question it. And that's why later on in here, I went through what should change with the budget and the way we present it and vote on it. Number 2, I do object to Alderman Zopp. And what you just said is hearsay. How can you say that without facts? You read a newspaper art. Exactly. Now, do you believe everything that you read in the New York Times and the Washington? Do you believe what the newspapers tell you? Do you believe what the newscasters are telling you?
All right, so I will answer the clock question. When there's issues like this in this ordinance, where there's a difference of opinion as to how we should proceed, we will start with what was moved out of the admin committee, in this case, 2/3. What we know, I think now, is that this is a focus point. And this is a focus point, and that there will likely be a request or a motion when this comes up for final vote to see what the majority wants with respect to that. And, okay, you decide, but I do want to talk about the committee of the whole just for a few minutes still, Tim.
Okay, Bobby, go ahead just for 30 seconds.
I just want to say I did not intend, nor do I believe I questioned the intelligence of anyone on this council. If that's what Alder Fisher heard, I regret that, but that is not my intent, nor do I believe it's what I said.
Okay, and one quick hand. Did you want to say anything at the point?
Just it's a perfect example that you brought up, Zach, was that's why we need 14 people, because we have more people. You can't just oust someone with 2 or 3. I know there's been discussion in the past, 14 is way too many, we need 9. Then yes, you are lowering the threshold for way more. It's not just city administrator, it's everything else having to do with the city. You're making that way too low of a threshold. Now, with 14, I think we're setting good to just do a simple majority. That would be 7, at least 7, and the mayor would be the tiebreaker. I think we're fine with that. With 7, if you look at all these other places, I'm willing to bet they only had 5 or 7 people in total. So then you're right, you only need 2 or 3, but we have 14, so you need at least 7, which would be every single person on those other, township boards or city.
Yeah.
council or whatever. So
Okay,
I think we're
appreciate that comment. Just want to hit real quick on committee as a whole.
Given the timing of we're 5 minutes over your 15. Maybe I'll have a conversation with Alder Fisher about the functioning of that, and we'll just save it for the next time we talk.
Okay. Yes,
Ask you one thing.
just a second, Alder Burnett. Bonnet.
Just listening to this, it's like, we have to be careful here. We're hearing the viewpoints of a very small minority in this group. And we're gonna drive the whole boat based upon those comments. And I think that, you know, being a member of the council and not really having the background of when Nathan or the administrator was hired, what the parameters of his employment were, you know, we all sat here just assuming that everything was done. And in hindsight, it wasn't. And shame on Nathan and shame on whomever made those decisions on behalf of the city to have the administrator start without some of this very basic thing. As an executive, Nathan put himself at grave risk to start here without an employment agreement that outlined his role, responsibility, and how he would be terminated. I don't know what his performance parameters are. And who sat down with Nathan after his 6-month probationary period and said, here's your good things, here's your bad things, here's what you got to work on.
We did that.
All right. So then if that process is in place, what Alderman Jack said, that we don't have to worry about paying severance if the performance of the incumbent in that position is such. We go through a performance review, and at the end of whatever term he's in, he's let go without severance and that sort of thing. But we're a long way away from that in this discussion, quite frankly. I'm sitting here thinking, do we want a city administrator? I mean, I listened to some of the comments here, and we want the council to run the city without any administrator. And I, for one, don't want that. But we have to trust the administrator who we have, and if he doesn't, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, I come from a background that's different than city, where I can tell you the function of an executive committee is very normal. That's the way the stuff gets flushed out before it goes to the full board. And that's whether you're with the big guys, the Googles and the Apples, or some maintenance shop somewhere. But there's that format. The problem is you got to trust. And you got to have the parameters spelled out. I don't want city employees coming to me for every little thing as a councilman. That's not what I think our role is. You know, and some of the folks here, I mean, Bobby and Zach, I think articulated the roles here pretty well in terms of what we want. The question is, how do we get there? I have a lot of other issues besides what Mick raised when I read the stuff for the first time regarding a police and fire commission. We're giving the police chief total power, no accountability to the council. That's not addressed. You know, should it be? I don't know. But those are some of the things that when I look at this, but the principle, I guess, and I'm sorry for jabbering, but I guess the principle here is that I think the issue of our structure as a council needs to be resolved before we talk about a lot of the other stuff. I personally think that the role of the administrative or the operations committee, having a leadership group who filters stuff out, gives it their best shot, and brings it to the full council. Boy, that seems a lot more efficient than having 14 of us jabber at each other without having a template of moving forward. So anyway, I'm sorry for talking, but it's like, this is a really important thing. And obviously I mean, I guess if I was on the administrative committee, my question to Mick would be, did you share this with that committee? And, you know, if you've been deliberating on it for months or whatever, so we could talk about this stuff all day. So I guess I'm just, that's my views as it relates to this, and I don't think it's out of whack. The issue of 2/3 or 3/4 or majority vote on that issue, you know, why are we messing around with it? Let's take a vote. Pick one. And go on, because, you know, we could be here for weeks. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mayor, so could we just go through the normal process of making amendments and voting through amendments and turning down amendments and just, that's the normal process. If Nick would like to make an amendment, we will vote on it, and then if somebody can make another amendment, and then we can vote on it, and you make another amendment, and before you know it, you're through the list, and then we're done. I mean, that's how government is set up to process this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, we need to schedule a section and talk about a section at each one of our next meetings. And keeping in mind, this is how we run the whole city, not just us in the room now, or not just our current city administrator. This is for future, for everybody.
And just to add to that real quick, that I don't think we should go one section per meeting, because there's a lot of these sections that'll be very quick.
Well, yeah.
We can kind of start at the beginning and see how far we get with a allotted amount of time.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll go through that. We'll go through the process of if it would be better to do it as Zach had said, where we put it on for a second reading and we have conversation, we hear from the public in a public hearing, and then we just see what amendments people want to make. Everybody will have 3 weeks to, and if we don't get it done, we table it for the next time. We don't get through all of that discussion. Maybe we will.
Okay, Mick?
Last comment of the day from me. Larry, you'd mentioned you'd contact me. I have already talked to the mayor about this. I feel very uncomfortable going any further with this myself. What I have done here is simply talk to staff. I've talked to the department heads. I've talked to the contracted vendors such as inspection and community development. And all I've done is gathered information. I took that information that I gathered and I put it in writing as a suggestion. But I don't want to go any further with this. I think that I am simply a lowly alderman. I am not the council president. I am not the mayor, and I would like the mayor to basically take over, and I'll just contribute as we go through these. And secondly, is it possible for us as we go through these different sections to vote that night on them so they're done? We know that portion of it is okay.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where we're leaning here, is to put it on the next meeting for a second reading, which means we'll have the public hearing, and then we can go through the process of at least beginning discussion and amendment. I can walk through each section of the ordinance, can see if there's changes. We can move forward in that regard. If the mayor wants to allot a certain amount of time to that, we don't get through it, we'll put it on the next agenda and keep working forward. But yes, and have votes on those amendments section by section.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
Yep. Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor that I need, Mick, maybe you want to rescind your motion or wait.
We really can't vote on this, anything on it. We
No.
weren't sitting in a
Right.
position to vote.
Correct. I knew that.
We're just-
Yeah.
Okay.
There
Alright.
wasn't a voting
So we'll
type.
just disregard the motion. Okay. Would someone like to let Nathan know that we're done with that discussion, if he'd like to return? Thanks, Jeremy. Okay, moving forward to resolutions.
Resolution number 25-2024, a resolution ordering a special election for the position of mayor.
Okay, I would like to start this with just a statement and then we'll proceed on. Excuse me, to call a special election in November is what we're looking at for the office of mayor. That would result in a short term of 1 year and 6 months, and then another election during the final months in the spring of 2026. So I'd like to offer another option. There's still more to be done with ordinances, voice really proved that, and contracts in regard to changing from full-time manager to city administrator to part-time mayor. I have reviewed my personal situation, and I would be willing to complete the remaining 2 years of Mayor Gluin's elected term if the council would so choose. So I wanted to have Larry just comment on the process for that.
Right, so tonight on the agenda, we have listed a decision on whether to order a special election for November. If, based on what the mayor has just said, the majority of the council would like to appoint him to fill that remaining term. We can't do that tonight because it's not on the agenda, but what we can do is take action on the order for and vote down an order for a special election. The issue really being what's on our agenda for tonight. I wanted to clarify that, thankfully, the mayor gave me a heads up that he was thinking about this. So I looked back at the motion that was made to appoint him earlier this year to see if we needed another motion. I believe we do, another appointment. I believe we do. The motion itself doesn't state that, but in the minutes, it specifically said that what was contemplated when when Mayor Wassell's appointment was made, that it was until the new mayor was seated in November. And so I believe that if you decide you want to do what the mayor just mentioned or offered, the action today would be to move to definitely postpone or to really to vote down the fact that we've got this resolution in front of us. And then we would put on an agenda, a subsequent agenda to appoint the mayor to extend through the rest of Mayor Gluin's term. But we need a motion for discussion, so I guess if this is for whoever's first here, I guess, the motion can either be to approve this resolution or to indefinitely postpone this resolution. Depending on your position, and the vote will determine whether we have an election in either way.
Okay, first hand I saw was Ken's. Is there a second to Ken's motion to approve the resolution as written? Alder Yuds?
I'll make that second motion.
Okay, so now we're open for discussion. Yes, Alder Bonnet.
No, it's more of a question, but if we did not accept or do not accept that motion, what I'm trying to get at is there a timeline with the election in August or the primary and?
Yes, there is. And Tracy will give me a look if I get this wrong. We do have time to, on our next meeting, act on this. I believe we have about a 30-day window starting 2 days ago to order this special election. And so we do have another meeting in which we could you could change your mind and order a special election or appoint Mayor Wassell to extend his term. We'll have to change the wording of the resolution based on the dates, but it's doable if you even wanted to wait.
Other discussion? Yes, Alder Anderson.
And I just feel really strongly that this needs to be an elected official by everyone in the city, not just a 7-member vote here. It really just needs to be elected official. We should settle it tonight. Now, if people want to just have Mike do it, so be it. But I'll say shame on you for not following democracy and taking it into your own hands. But, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I don't think we should postpone it. We should, either you want to have an election or you want to have Mike do it, even though Mike said that he would only do it for a short term and lied to everyone and now wants to do it longer. If you're okay with that, then you vote that way. But I think we should just settle it tonight, what we want to do, especially so people can get the ball rolling. If they want to run for mayor, they can get out and do whatever they want to do. But yeah, I think we really should settle it tonight.
Ken, shame on you for saying I lied. I did not.
You said that you were only going to do it until a mayor was elected.
And anything never changes.
Well, I'm
Okay,
just
we're
saying.
moving on. We're moving on. Any other conversation? Yes, Alder Yuds.
We had this discussion a few months ago, I believe, with another candidate, and we decided then that we were gonna go to election, to a primary in August and a general election in November. What changed? I mean, our principles haven't changed. We agreed to that. Now we got a different person leading the city council in the city. Our principles shouldn't change. We gotta have an election. We just can't come up and say, well, I want to be mayor now until April of 2026. We have to vote on this. The city should vote on this. Who is gonna be the mayor in November? It's their opportunity. Why should we take it away from them? That's my opinion.
I just want to address that comment. The only risk that I'm seeing out there is popularity contests don't always bring you experience to City Hall. So you could have, anyway. Mick, did you want, Bobby was next?
I was also going to say that another reason perhaps not to have a special election is continuity. That if Mayor Wassell serves until November, and then we have another candidate serving after November, and then that person would be in office for 17 months, and then there would be another election, and so we could have a third person acting as mayor. So that would give us 4 different mayors in a little over in 2.5 years. So I do think there is the issue of continuity and stability that should be considered. And I'll be honest, well, that's a good place to stop.
Yes, Alder Fisher.
I do believe, Mike, that you've done a good job. I have faith in your ability in making the decisions that we have to make. There's a lot on the table right now. And I don't believe that playing whack-a-mole with mayors is the way to go. I'm gonna definitely support you and hope that we can get through until the general election and let the city. But I don't think now is the time to do that.
Any other? Yes, Alder Zopp.
So I do like the idea of continuity. Mike, I'm glad you didn't say because I've talked with you before and you have a lot on your plate, and this is not a person that has said, I can't handle it. This is a person that said, I'm dealing with it. I want to keep helping the city. I'm worried about the city's future. There's a lot going on. And there is a risk, right? It's up to us to balance whether the risk of having a dysfunctional city government for a couple of years, facing big decisions versus, an election, right? I mean, it's up to us to sort that question out. That's the question we have. It's unfortunate that it's at such a big turning point in the city's future. I mean, if we didn't have charter ordinances and bringing on a new administrator and budget issues and all these other things, right? It's a lot to bring somebody up to speed on. So it's a fair concern. It's a legitimate issue. And there is a real benefit of having Mayor Wazell stick around to fill up Becky's term. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Anybody else want to express an opinion? Jack?
One last opinion. After we voted last time, I told Bobby she would be a very good mayor. But I said, it's the principle of it. And Mike, I'm telling you the same thing. You would be a very good mayor, but I think it's the principle. We just had the election for Alderman. 7 people ran. Nobody ran against them. So was it a favoritism or the popularity contest? I don't know. But it seems like no one runs for Alderman. So it's a position. Do they want it? Or it's the worst evil you could ever get yourself into? I'm just stating sometimes you gotta flush it out. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Well, and then the question is, will anybody run for mayor for a 1.5-year term? Mick?
In answer to Jack's question there, I brought up the idea of giving the alderpersons a raise so maybe we can get some more interest. And Alderman Zopp voted to decrease our salary. Maybe the mayor at 20,000 a year, part-time for what he's taken on, should be making more.
Okay, I think it's time to, can I call the roll on this?
If you're ready.
A yes vote is to hold a special election in November on the dates as provided in the resolution. A no vote is to not do that. And there will, if that means appointing Mayor Wazell for the rest of the term, that will have to happen at a subsequent meeting.
Are you ready?
Please call the roll.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfelt,
Aye.
Bonnet,
No.
Burnett,
No.
Marie,
No.
Fisher,
No.
Keel,
No.
Mark,
No.
Olson,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap.
No.
Alder Perkins is
He
online.
is online. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see that you were online.
Alder Perkins?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I vote no.
Okay, the total is 8-4, so the resolution did not pass. Moving on to the next resolution.
Resolution number 26-2024, a resolution authorizing the commitment of match funds and certification of match funds secured for the 2024 Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities application.
Okay, this came from committee today. Is there a motion to approve? Alder Zopp,
Make a motion to approve.
is there a second? Alder or Olson, I'm sorry. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any questions on this resolution?
Could I give a brief background?
Sure.
So the gist of this resolution is if we receive the $1 million in change of community block development funding for street infrastructure work, we are committing that we will provide matching funds of $1 million in change to fulfill this project as a whole, right? So be aware, we need to do this, right? This would cover some really bad streets in Beaver Dam, get them fixed, repaired. But when this comes around in the budget cycle, we have to honor this. So thank you.
Any questions on resolution 26? Please call the roll.
Appenfelt,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution 26 passes and we move on to resolution 27.
Resolution number 27-2024, a resolution for outdoor recreation grant applications.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this? Alder Olson? Motion from Alder Olson, I got cotton in my mouth, sorry. And a second, Mr. Burnett.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for the resolution. Any discussion on outdoor recreation grant? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfelt.
Aye.
Resolution 27-2024 passes. Moving on to resolution 28.
Resolution number 28-2024, a resolution authorizing a professional services agreement for the Swan Park Phase 3 Improvements Project.
Kay,
I'll make a motion to support that.
okay. Resolution by Alder Appenfelt. Is there a second motion? Alder Bonnet, second. Any questions or discussion on this resolution? Alder Fisher.
Could you just real quickly go over what we're gonna be doing?
Yes.
Need to cover that or Todd?
Sure.
Todd, you want?
Todd, you want to take it?
So this is for phase 3 of Swan Park, so this will include the outer walking circle. As well as possible improvements to the band shell and the amphitheater area.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Burnett,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfelt,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
Resolution 28 passes. And we'll move on to resolution 29-2024.
Resolution number 29-2024, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 66.0703 (4) Wisconsin statutes.
Todd, you want to give us a brief overview of that one?
Sure, so this is the authorized special assessments on West Street from Haskell Street to Third Street. Everything is according to policy, non-compliant sidewalks, concrete driveway aprons, consulting engineering, and private lateral replacements.
Okay, is there a motion for that? Alder Yads.
I'll make that motion.
And a second? Alder Free. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Barry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfelt,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
Resolution 29-2024 passes, and we'll move on to resolution number 30.
Resolution number 30-2024, a resolution adopting a memorandum of understanding regarding the ownership, operations, and maintenance for the Beaver Dam Community Library.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion by, go ahead, I'm sorry. It's your motion.
I make a motion to approve this memorandum of understanding that was passed by the admin committee at our last meeting.
Thank you, Alder Mark. Is there a second to that motion? Alder Burnett.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second on the resolution. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Bobby?
At not this meeting, but our last meeting, we had a nice presentation about what was in the memorandum of understanding. And basically what it does is it formalizes what has been happening at the library. It outlines the responsibilities between the city and the library itself, which entities are responsible for which various portions of the building and the operations. And again, it's just basically putting into writing they have been practicing for some time. So it was, it's nice and clear for in the future.
Yes, Alder Anderson.
Can you go into what they've been practicing? Like who's responsible for what? Just a brief overview.
Yeah, so for example, the city owns the building. And so they're responsible for, maintaining the building itself. The library staff has, they're responsible for maintaining the books, the media, the technology, the things inside the building. I think that's the biggest clear delineation. And then it also talks about budgeting, what the library is responsible for in terms of budgeting, talks about capital improvements. And the fact, part of it is because the library receives funds from the city, but they also have other sources of revenue from the county and the state. And so it's to sort of make sure that all entities understand in terms of money and budgeting what their operations and responsibilities are versus ours. So.
Any other questions or discussion?
Could I just
Yes.
thank Sarah for being here tonight and also the members that are here on the library board. Thank you for entering in and drafting this contract. I mean, it's nice to have, especially where we are with the library right now, going through a lot of development and a lot of money changing hands. It's nice to have those responsibilities laid out and clarified. It just helps things move smoothly. So thank you for your work on putting this together.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yuds,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Eppenfeld,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Okay, resolution number 30 passes, and we'll move on to resolution 31.
Resolution number 31-2024, a resolution charging off delinquent miscellaneous accounts receivable.
Okay, I'm going to look to the administrative committee chair again for that one.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the resolution of specifically $900.50 that are delinquent from one Grand Rapids Express for traffic light damage on the corner of North Spring and Park Ave.
Yeah, and apparently this is 2 or 3 years old. They haven't paid the bill, so it would go out to collection. I need a second on the motion. Alder Burnett.
Second.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Yuds,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfeld,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Resolution 31-2024 passes, and we'll move on to item number 11. Motion by Kevin.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second? Alder Yuds.
I'll make that second.
All right, you've been king of the seconds today. Also, I just want to remind you, of course, about tomorrow night's inaugural meeting. It starts at 7, is that correct? And also I'd like to introduce to you stand-up alderperson from 14th Ward. This is Jennifer Hiley. We'll welcome you tomorrow night also. So we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Any abstentions that want to stay?